This is the 18th season of Bass Talk Live. With your host, Matt Pangrath. BTL is brought to you by Lowrance, Bass Cat Boats, AFCO, Ducket Fishing, Strike King Lures, Sunline, Big Bite Baits, Spro, X-Zone Lures, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, and Pro Guide Batteries.
BTL, coming at you.
Good morning. It is Bass Talk Live, and we are back live in studio after a week at the Bassmaster Open on Lake Toho in, I would love to be able to say warm and sunny Florida, but it was cold and windy Florida, with the exception of 2 days. We did get a good day there. But we have a ton to talk about. We have BPT action. We have Elite Series action coming up, Toyota Series action. And the man to my right, Bradley Hallman, and I will break down the first Open of the 2022 season on Lake Toho. Brad, thanks for making the drive in.
You bet, man. It was fun driving down this morning. A lot of traffic, typical OKC.
Now, you don't have to lie.
Morning.
It was not fun driving down this morning.
I just said a lot of traffic. I was
You
being
do not
sarcastic.
enjoy that drive at all, do you?
No, it sucks.
When did you get back? I called you a couple times and you were like still driving, and I was already home.
Dude, and we're just straight into the fire, too, because like I think I got home at 5:30 yesterday afternoon, and then we did a little show with Andrew last night, filmed it for YouTube for his channel, and man, at 8 o'clock when we were done, we started at 8 and finished about 9. I was like, guys, you know, normally we sit and visit for just a little bit afterwards. Right. I was like, I'm going to bed. But I had to get up at 4:30 this morning to put together a couple little stuff that we'd filmed, you know, while we were down there for this show. So 4:30 this morning, then I was up against the wall trying to get that thing to render as quickly as possible whenever I was done.
So that's what we're going to do after each of the Opens. I was trying to think, you know, a lot of you guys seem to really enjoy the tournament recaps. And it's the Bassmaster Opens that we fish, and we're fishing all 9 again this year. Kicked off in Florida. We have about a 2-month break until we go to Cherokee Lake in Tennessee. But I was thinking about a way that we could approach the recap shows a little differently, and I called you during the off season and I said, man, hey, we both have the GoPros running during all of this stuff, and we both like to talk about it. We'll put stuff out on our own YouTube channels, on the BTL channel and on the Bradley Hallman Fishing channel. But I said, how about if we do a little Okie breakdown following each Open? And I said, man, pull a couple of your favorite clips, a couple clips that really kind of define your tournament. Good, bad, indifferent.
Yeah.
Send them over to me, little 30-second, 1-minute clips. And then we will be able to talk through them to kind of show them, talk about how our tournaments went down. And the reason that I thought it was so interesting and that would be so productive is because while we often finish, it seems kind of similarly in the standings. We room together, we share information a lot, we talk about what's going on the water. We often attack the same bodies of water in very contrasting styles.
Absolutely. It's amazing how differently, when the tournament's over, how we go about it. But it usually shows it's said pretty early in practice too. But this one's going to be a little different.
It is. It was really tough. You believe finished what, 56?
56th. Yeah.
56th, and I finished 49th in the standings. Brandon Lester. I guess I didn't realize it. I knew that he had not won an Elite Series tournament, but I didn't know that he hadn't won an Open either. Kind of climbing up there as one of the veterans on the Elite Series. I remember I was covering it when he came on, and has always been really solid, but no hands on the hardware until this past Saturday down at Toho. A well-deserved win for him. I think both you and I thought, though, that the Cowboy, Joey Cifuentes, after dropping almost 29 pounds on day one, was going to be able to ride that to victory, but changing conditions every single day.
Yeah, that's a tough deal to have the lead that he had and then have it for 2 days and then just fall out at the end. But for Lester, man, I mean, even the Elite Series guys, that's why they're there, as that classic spot. So it's always good to punch that ticket. He doesn't have to worry about it as much on the Elite Series now. He can kind of sit back and relax and maybe shoot a little bit harder for one of those trophies as well.
We're going to get to that in the second half of the show, but first, there is a lot of action that is going on at the professional level. Currently going on the first BPT of the season on Lake D'Arbonne, and those guys are experiencing what I think everybody who is fishing at a high level right now is experiencing, which is just a massive cold front for shallow water Florida bass. They're in Louisiana, a little bit of grass there. Cypress trees, laydowns, river, muddy water, hard to get around, and hard to get bit. They are currently on day 2 of qualifying for Group A, and Stephen Browning is leading the way with just 21 pounds over a day of fishing. And then a lot of guys are still looking to catch their first bass of the year. You had guys like Lefebvre and Watson and Russ Lane who didn't catch one, but there's a bunch of guys that just caught one fish yesterday and the day before. It's unbelievable how difficult it is.
Well, it's got the worst combinations. You got shallow water, you got stained water, a lot of color to the water. All that creates, with cold weather, a major problem. But does it surprise you that Browning's at the top?
No, and also on the other side in the qualifying Group B, I had a little fondness for Jared Littner, who always seems to get the seasons off to a strong start. California guy who just moved to Georgia, but actually implying a drop shot around the docks, power shotting it on a bait caster. But I was like, man, look, that's so cool to see, and has a big lead there, 33-2. With Gerald Spohr, the local, I guess, kind of local favorite, with 18-11. But in that group, man, Brandon Coulter, Brett Hite, Clavion Johns, Jason Lambert, Matt Lee, Takahiro Omori, Tommy Biffle, and Zach Burge all failed to catch a fish. There's a little bit of pressure on to get some points now, but that's a lot of hours with a lot of guys with a lot of titles.
Burge was just rolling from one to the other. I mean, he just like showed up. Here I am, Derby Day, let's get it.
Yeah, and so did Keith Poche. And my question to that was, I believe that Zach Burge was in the B group, so he didn't fish till day 2, but he made the final cut. And I'm pretty sure that Keith Poche was in the A group, but he did not make the cut, so he had to drive all night and fish the next day. How did those guys know what groups they were in? Would you miss the final day of the Open? Would you miss the first day of the BPT? That's a little interesting dynamic that we have going on there, Brad.
I don't know. I don't know what that decision process was like for either one of them. But I heard Burge hit the portal pretty quick after weigh-in Florida, that he was pretty much on stage, off stage, and gone.
Yeah, had to drive all night to make it, and still in it. Heck, he's only top 20 cuts at 3:15 in that group, so pretty tough over there at D'Arbonne. And then I think they changed lakes a couple of times. Speaking of tough, Okeechobee, a Toyota series went on the same time we were on Toho, and Rob Brana, I think that's how you say it, Brana, we'll just call him a winner because he had 51.5 in 3 days. But man, early February on Okeechobee, less than 20 pounds a day gets it done. 51.5, that's tough as nails, to be honest with you. And there was like 250 some boats in that too, with a lot of really good anglers. I saw Brandon Medlock finish 5th in that tournament.
Yeah, and still a lot of the same familiar names, as I went through the top 30 in that thing that I recognize, Floridians that do well there all the time, all the way down to McMillan's. Dude, they fished the same time we did, and they're going through the same weather. It is wintertime, unfortunately, and I know the calendar says it, and the weather looked like it this time. Sometimes we get down south in Florida and Louisiana, and it doesn't play out that way, and it's nice and warm, and the fish bite, but it was not the past week or this week right now. Lord, I came home to like a foot of snow in front of my garage. I couldn't even get my boat in the garage because it had all piled up. It faces the north, and it had not melted at all. And my son was laughing at me last night as I was coming in. He's like, well, I want to wait to see you get home, see how you're going to get that boat in the garage. And I was like, yeah, it's going to sit in the driveway for a day or two until it melts.
Oh, you didn't shovel it out. You just waited. You played the waiting game.
No. Dude, I shut that thing off. After 20-something hours of driving, I just shut it off and got out. And I didn't even go back.
Have you always been a guy who breaks your drives up, or did you used to power drive the 19, 20-hour drives up north and down south?
I've played both games. If I'm by myself now at my age, I try to stop. But I say that. I just drove all the way down there to Florida. I power drove all the way through.
Always easier driving down than driving back.
Got down there and just started practicing like stupid stuff.
Oh, you didn't take it?
No,
night?
I left Oklahoma at like 10:30 in the morning. I got down to Kissimmee at Camp Mac at 7:30 in the morning. Visited with Andrew just a little bit, and off the lake we went. Fished all day, and I slept very well that night.
I took a half a day. Got my tackle ready. I had no rods rigged for Florida. Denali sent me a couple 7-8 rods.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, how many do you want? And I was like, 2 should do me well. Like they will be used to maybe throw a big swim bait and punch down in Florida, and that's probably it. But then I was looking at our schedule, and I might be able to use that at Rayburn later in the year, depending on the water level. Definitely use it on the Red River. I'll have those 12-inchers just flying out of the water with ease.
With ease.
But one of the unique things about BTL and the way I set this up was we did not have live shows last week, and hopefully all the listeners enjoyed the pre-recorded shows that we had. I believe it had Adam Bartuzek and Dave Mercer at day 4 with Frank Scalish, and it seemed to be received well, but we're not able to kind of give up to the date minutes on what was going on. So while we were driving down to Florida and practicing, Michael Neal was adding another notch to his belt, picking up off of the Angler of the Year last year on the MLF Pro Circuit, a win on a very stingy Sam Rayburn reservoir.
That guy's, there's been a lot of nicknames in the sport of bass fishing through the years, right?
Yeah.
But his has been more fitting than any.
What is his name? Oh, the real deal?
The real deal.
Yeah.
Yep. He is definitely the real deal.
100% the real deal. Cashes over 100,000. He went 18-7, 15-2. I believe they had a day canceled there too. And then
yeah, they did. That is right.
And then the weights, and I was not aware of this, Brad. I want to get your thoughts on this.
Yeah.
Because this is a conversation we can have. The weights zeroed after what would have been the third day, the second day. But for the rest of it, you fish the 3 days, the weight 0, and then the top 10 all go in for a one-day shootout. Now, I was not aware that was going on until I read it, because I was looking at it and I said, oh, Michael Neal's got the lead. And then I'm like, oh, wow, that's a twist that seems to come and go in bass fishing. Have you noticed that?
Definitely.
It seems like they love to have a tight, like they used to do that I remember the college national championship that I finished 3rd in. We sat on our fish after day 2 and did not catch anymore because we knew the weights would be zeroed. And then we ended up losing to Virginia Tech. And I'm still upset that they did that, because we could have, they were busted at school and all around us, but we were in the top. We knew we were in the top 5. And Virginia Tech didn't catch them on the 3rd day. We just didn't catch them hardly at all. What are your thoughts on the 0? You fish at the tour level. You've done this for a long time. You've made a lot of top 10s.
I'm not a fan of the of zeroing out. I understand why they do it. It's to bring drama onto the television show. Perhaps it also allows. It depends on what position you're in too. Like if you come into the final day and you're in 10th place, 9th place, and depending on the weights, a lot of places you're out of it. A lot of times the leader could potentially be so far ahead that there's nothing going to happen, even if he doesn't weigh a bass. He's going to win. So it adds in that aspect. So it depends on where you are. If you're in that leader seat, it sucks. If you're in 5th or 10th and you were out of it and didn't have a chance to win, and it's great. It's wonderful, because all 10 guys have a shot to win. So I wouldn't say that overall I'm just against it, but it just really depends on which side of the coin you're in or on whenever it comes that time.
I'm against it.
You're against it.
I'm 100% against it, Brad.
I prefer to, I think every day counts, every day matters. That's why we fish 3-4 day events. Just like the tournament we just came from. I don't think it's fair to Joey, who caught the giant gargantuan, almost 29-pound bag the first day, which was like an 8-pound lead on the entire field. I think he deserves credit for that all the way to the end.
Yeah. To me, it makes no sense. I don't understand why you would do that, because it is even though the BPT is above it, it's a top-level professional tournament.
Right.
There are 4 days.
Right.
There are only 2 tournament circuits in the world that are 4 days. And I'm leaving the BPT out of this because that's an entirely different format. I'm talking about the traditional 5-fish culling format. It's the same reason that the Angler of the Year is determined over a 32-day season, or in the FLW case,
I agree.
24-day season.
I agree.
Because the more data points you have, the more consistency and the less randomness and luck, let's face it, luck comes into play.
Yep.
So when you have 4 days, you're taking out, you are saying I was the best on this fishery over the course of the entire tournament.
Correct.
It changes the way you fish. It changes your strategy when 100%. You know that the weights are zeroed. And if your weight on day 1 should be just as important as your weight on day 4. And how many times we've seen that in the Angler? We just did that in the Bassmaster Open. It's the first day of the season, and I'm sitting there at noon because of what I did last year going, you know what? This day's just as important as day 7, 12, 14, 16, or the last day of the season. And you take that away when you zero the weights.
I don't think that there's a question that if you did a survey across professional anglers, the percentages are going to be that they are not in favor of zeroing the last day. A high percentage.
And you have to remember, there is only one guy who is leading going into the final day. So in theory, you know, it makes no sense to me. I mean, I understand why they do it. I would like to know like a reason. Like I would like to know how that came about.
It's for television. It's for nothing else. It's to create drama on the last day to hopefully potentially make the sport of bass fishing more dramatic and more people involved with the opportunity to win. That's what it is. But, I mean...
Hasn't it been tried in the past? Haven't they done it and the anglers have actually, like...
Revolted.
Yes.
Yes. Revolted. But, you know, back then it was they were zeroing at top 20 cuts. So
that's what I'm saying. I'm not saying that this is an MLF thing messing with it. FLW's done this in the past. Bass has done it in the past. All the organizations have played with it. That's why I'm saying it's this recurring thing that keeps popping up and it never sticks.
Well, there's always a media guy that's not a bass fisherman off to the side that has a lot of say-so of what goes on, and he keeps saying, we need to fix this, we need to fix this, we need to fix this. But he's not a bass fisherman. All he sees is the production. He's sitting on the production side going, this sucks, this guy's leading, he's got a 10-pound lead. How do we make this show dramatic?
So what if the Lakers are leading the Celtics by 30 going into the 4th? They should say, you know what, they got such a big lead, we're just going to play the first 3 quarters, and then...
I agree. I totally agree. But if you know, if you're the team that's down by 40 points going into the 4th quarter, you're like, hell yeah, now we got a shot.
I still wouldn't feel like I deserved it.
I agree with that. But it's where your paycheck comes from.
It's like I said, it's you did it in Florida, didn't you?
Yeah, I probably...
Did you have the biggest bag on the final day when you won in either of your tour events?
Both events, I led wire to wire, and I would not have won if it would have been zeroed. Either one of them. The first one in Florida, I weighed in the 2 biggest bags of the entire event 2 days in a row.
And then they would have said, hey, thanks for coming out, but the guy who just squeaked in was 17 a day. Doesn't matter that you had 26, that you had 28. It's zeroed.
Like I said, I think it matters. Lanier, I had a 23-pound bag of spotted bass. Spotted bass.
That would have been wiped out.
Like, yeah.
I mean, it wouldn't have been wiped out. You'd have still made the top 10.
But it matters. You know what I mean? Like, it should matter. I agree. I'm totally. But there's probably been tournaments that I would have won. I lost one by an ounce after 4 days, an FLW event. $100,000. I lost by 1 ounce on the last day. If it would have been last day weight, I had almost a 20-pound bag. It was the biggest bag weight in the entire event over 4 days. I would have won.
Here's what we need.
But did I deserve it? No.
No, you deserve to lose by an ounce.
Deserve to lose
Should
by
have caught an ounce, more an ounce.
But what I'm saying is that it may kind of come out in the wash, but
I don't think so. I would like to go back. And now in this instance, it did. Michael Neal was leading. He went out, crushed everyone's hopes and dreams. he returned victorious, as he was at the end of day 3.
Yes.
But I would like to go back over the last 10 years. I might do this in all my spare time, Brad.
Yeah.
And take who is leading after day 3 and who wins and the weights of the top 10. I will give it. MLF, great website now. You can actually go back and do all that stuff just like they had.
Yep.
Great stats. Had the BPT stuff to it now. And see what would have changed over the course of history.
A lot
Who
would
would
have
be
changed.
Tour and Pro Circuit champions? Who wouldn't be Tour and Pro Circuit champions? Then you get a guy in the media like me. Now your daily weight and the winning weight and all that stuff out the window. That's what I like to look at because in baseball, it's pretty much always been the same. I know they've added a 3-point line in basketball and things, but when you're looking at statistics, objective statistics to determine the relevancy of an angler, the importance of the win, what he averages, how he performs, total winning weights of events, it muddies the water incredibly when you have weights that are dropped. I'm used to it now on the BPT. I totally get it. I don't have any issue with that now. The 2 days, zero it into the top 10, fish the different lakes. Brad, I'm starting to enjoy it. I'm enjoying it.
It makes perfect sense in that format
Yeah.
because you're fishing on different days. There's different circumstances, different people involved. That 100% makes sense. But I agree.
It's a different game over there.
It's a different game. I was with you. I didn't realize that the top 10 was going to zero.
How long
either.
ago was that when they zeroed the top 20 with FLW? Were you fishing that?
No. I believe I was on the
Mid 2010s,
I
maybe?
don't even think I might have been on the Elite Series when they were.
They
doing
only
that.
did
I
it
think
for
I
like a
was.
year or two.
No, they did it for a while,
Maybe 2 or 3 years?
4 or 5.
Really?
Yeah,
They'd fish the first 2 days,
yeah,
and
full
then
field.
they cut everybody except the top 20.
Yeah,
The weights would zero.
yeah. I can remember one guy in particular from Oklahoma. They were on Lake Murray, and he was crushing on them. I mean, like pushing the dirty 30 mark each day with a football jig offshore, and then they zeroed the weights. And like he would have won walking away, but no credit for it.
It's interesting.
Yep.
It's going to make someone a hero and make someone really mad this year.
Well, it makes your big bags not matter as much. It makes big fish not matter as much until the final day.
In a 4-day tournament, can you save something and not go to it for 3 days and save it for the final day?
That's what I was thinking when you were talking about going back and looking at statistics to see what would have happened.
Well, you'd have to.
Guys were laying off back.
You'd
in those
have
days.
to approach
They
it differently.
You approached it different.
Can't.
You didn't lean on them quite as hard at times.
Yeah, I know.
But man, that just goes against everything. Because like I can remember at a young age, one of my mentors, I was like, okay, so they're biting. How hard do you lean on them? I'll never forget what Larry Bryant told me. He said, "You catch all you can catch because there's no guarantees for tomorrow." And that he meant it. Now I'm talking about beating on one spot. Now you don't go beat on other spots that you feel like might be potential once you get there. But like if they're there and they're biting, you catch every dang thing you can catch.
You ever laid off of them in a big event and gone back?
I've laid off of more areas. Does that make sense? Like if you're running a pattern type deal and you're like, oh, I got it. They're on the shady side of every tree or dock that's sitting there. And yeah, like you roll by one, you catch a good one. You roll by another one, you catch a good one. I've got a really good bag, and I've got 6 more places like that. I'm not going to roll those 6 places.
I'm going to go do
I've
something
done that.
off the wall to try to, as you say, freak show.
Try to figure something else out.
I agree, JD. It would be good fodder. It would be good discussion points to go back and to do that.
Yeah.
But I 100% agree. When you're in the game, you're going to be fishing differently. JD said going back compare will not give you accurate results.
Right.
Would have fished differently if everything was zero. That was a point that I made in the national championship.
But even with that being said, there's still no guarantee. Like I say, when you lay off, when they're there biting, there's no guarantee that tomorrow is the same thing.
2000 whatever, when Chip and I finished third, we found a pipe with current on the Arkansas River.
Yeah.
2 days, total weight, top 5 teams, weight zero, go into the final day.
Yep.
And we catch them on the first day. Good limit. We get there the second day, and it goes down, Brad. And we catch our fish, and we already were in the lead. leading the tournament. We have a better bag on the second day. We know we're in the top 5. Literally does us no good to catch fish. And we didn't have poles. We dropped an anchor. And it was a cast, a spot, and they were schooling. And we did not fish for 5-6 hours because it was that spot. Like, literally, we couldn't catch one anywhere else in the river. It didn't help us to go, and other schools knew where we were. It was obvious, and they were trying to come in, so we were guarding it. And we go back day 3, and we catch like 3 dinks.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it just...
Dude, I get it.
I mean, that was 2006, 2008?
Yeah.
What is it, 2021? I'm not bitter about it.
No, not at all. I can tell. I get it, man. I get it.
But anyway.
So, how... we'll see it again this year.
It's not bad. I mean, you understand the rules.
There's
You play by the
there-
rules.
There's
going to
be unhappy guys at the end of the year.
I just did not expect to see that little tweak coming.
Yeah, I didn't either.
If you, like you said, if you pulled,
Dude, I'm telling you, it
150
comes from a
guys?
guy sitting in production. That's where it comes from. It comes from a guy sitting in production, watching the production team work week after week and go, all right, how do I make drama out of this? There's no one has a shot to win but this guy, and you want me to make a show out of this? That's where it comes from. That's the only place it can come from.
I was thinking about some of the cool formats that they had, and I went down the wormhole of the Lynn Dollar YouTube channel. You ever done that?
No.
Oh, dude, it's like every Bassmaster show, and I think there's some FOW on there maybe. Every Bassmaster show from like 2007 back to like the top 150s, everything.
Wow.
We're talking
That's good.
Dewey Kendrick, Bob Cobb, Ray Scott, the shows and everything. And I came across some absolute gems where they would have the bush shootout. They would have like different formats, like the heaviest bags each day. And one of the things that I thought was interesting, man, those guys were like the very early days of like the Edwins and the Skeets and the Kevins and the Roland Martins. Like, we think we've got guys that are like flashy and stuff now with the YouTube, look at me.
Yep.
Dude, they went after each other back there in the intro. I was listening to one. Roland Martin was leading. You have to go back and watch this. I might be able to pull. Roland Martin was leading, and the intro to the show was Roland Martin, and he's looking at the camera, and he's like pointing at it, and it's like, that in the background, and it's like, and Roland Martin looking to cross into $1 million, and he's like, it's the final day, and I'm leading, and I'm crossing the finish line, punching the gas, and spraying gravel. No one's catching me. And then it like cut to the other guy, and he's like, Roland Martin, your time is past. I'm coming for you. And like each one had like their thing, and they like had this. It was crazy.
Well, that again was a guy in production that said, how can I make this more interesting? Because that was all coached up. 100% coached. Coached. FLW used to do a little bit of that too.
And then here's the other thing. I went back and did I was watching the classic that Ike got DQ'd in. And the way they covered controversy, it was the whole dang show.
It was.
Here's Ike.
Oh, it was the best marketing move of all time.
I
actually honestly felt like in that event that Ike intentionally went to get DQ'd to get more media
I've heard
attention.
multiple people say, because he was leading the tournament.
Just off the top of my head when I was watching it, I was like, that dude just went and got DQ'd on purpose.
He had the Nike shirt on, the Flames. He was fresh off of the wins. But I'm just saying, back then they covered the controversy. Like, remember when Swindle got DQ'd? It just seems now like we haven't had stuff like that in a while. But back then, I mean, it's like, oh, we got it. And they ran with it and turned the whole dang thing into the show.
They did. They turned the whole classic into some of those controversies.
Yeah.
They did. I agree.
We've got Charlie Hartley on the show tomorrow. Had a great showing, 16th place down in Florida. Living his best life, catching a fish 800 and some days in a row. And I think I'm going to maybe mention that to him and bring that up because he was leading the classic.
I was going to say that was
some
one of the
major storylines that went on with him. And over this past week in Florida, I actually had some conversations with him, and I don't know how much he wants to get into it, so I'll just kind of skirt around the edges of it, Brad. But he was not aware that these storylines were developed until he was off the water and was in the middle of it and is going, huh?
Really?
And everybody's all about this. And Charlie's like, dude, I'm just like fishing the classic. I didn't know any of this stuff was going on.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. I'm not saying good or bad, but just how you drive the storyline, develop it, all that from zeroing the weights after day 3 to maybe build some more drama going into the final day, I think is how we ended up on this topic, bro.
I'm not a fan of zeroing weights.
No. Elite Series also going on. I have had a chance to make the Bass Talk Live Fantasy Fishing Group. Just get, if you are already in other groups, you can join the Bass Talk Live group. Listen, I joined it. I made it late, so you have to go back in and add the Bass Talk Live. But as we did with the BPT and MLF Fantasy Fishing groups, the winner of the Bassmaster Fantasy Fishing Group for Bass Talk Live will receive a 7'4" Lithium Pro Denali spinning rod, the same spinning rod that I caught 81% of my fish on last year and 50% of my fish on in Florida this year, Brad. So go ahead and join that. Like you said, me or Andrew Upshaw, Todd Castledine, Brad, and myself. I believe that was grammatically correct there. Andrew does a great fantasy fishing deal that will be out shortly for that, so we won't really rehash that. If you want like fantasy picks, go over and watch that. The Open Pros pick 'em on the St. Johns River that is coming up. You got anything else before we take a break, Brad, and get into the Bassmaster Open that just went down on Toho?
Well, the St. John's is coming up, the first Elite Series of the year.
Starts on Thursday.
Those guys, I talked to a couple of them while driving yesterday. I didn't realize it was their first day of practice. I'm like calling guys, hey, man, what's going on? I'm thinking, they're like, we started practice today. I'm like, really? I'm like, yeah, it's all right. I'm just idle.
Oh, they answered?
Yeah. New was like, no, man, I don't even want to get off the phone. I'm just idling. Just talk to me. I'm shivering. I'm so cold. Dude, they're about to go through the same thing. I mean, like, it's not warming up. I pulled up the weather down there. And
yeah, pull it up. Can you pull it up right now?
Jacksonville, Florida? Yeah.
No, Palatka.
Palatka?
Yeah.
Well, Jacksonville's right there, right?
Does it?
Yeah, Jacksonville's right there.
When you go to a lake and you plan in, like, let's say when you're in Florida and you can fish a whole chain, do you look at the weather for the lake you're planning on fishing, or you just go to the home base?
Here's Jacksonville. I know Jacksonville's right there.
What are the lows?
The daily. The lows are 46, 38, 37, 40, 45, 48, 40. That's it. The highs, the highest that I see the entire week is 70. And I can tell you from last week, 70 is not warm enough. It's not.
See, I pull up Palatka where it's going out of. Isn't Jacksonville closer to the coast?
It is.
Yeah, so Palatka where it's going out of.
Yep.
The lows, 41, 36, 32 on Thursday night, 36 and 43. 100% chance of rain today with a high of 52.
Yeah.
63, 64, 68, 68 for the highs.
Yeah. It's not warm enough. It's not warm enough. Like, it's going to be a tough week. It's going to be a tough week, and I think all the grass has gone out of there as well.
I know there was a lot of eel grass that was missing out of Lake George. I don't know if it made a comeback, but it has been the last couple of years.
It has not made a comeback. The first time I went there.
Is that a spraying
That
deal
place
or
was
hungry
eel grass
manatee?
from one side or the other. Hungry manatee.
Do the manatees eat that, or is that sprayed?
Well, they definitely eat vegetation. I'm sure they've eaten some eelgrass in their time, as fat as they are. But I don't know. It's probably just the cycle, the vicious cycle of aquatic vegetation, right? You were talking about punching at Rayburn. Good luck when you get there. You're about to find out how much no grass there is in that place this fall.
No, I was talking about flooded cypress.
Oh.
Because the last time I was there, remember a couple years ago when it was super high?
Yeah.
And it took a 3/4 to get through the cypress. And it was like one of the, basically it was a tiki hut is the way I described it, right? And you'd see the cypress laying on it, and you'd know that there's a root system and totally hollow underneath it. And you'd punch a 3/4 ounce through, and it'd get to the bottom and just go, don't, every time.
Of all the years I fished Rayburn, and it's high, and it's got all that hydrilla out there, and so many of those bass never come to the hill. But right now, if it would flood, they would come to the hill because there's nothing out there to keep them. They would come to the bank. It would be the best flipping bite of all time, probably. Yeah, I say that. They probably sit out there on their little hard spots and shell beds and never come in. But
what is your best flipping bite of all time? In a derb.
I don't know. Probably Grand Lake. Biggest bag I've ever caught was Grand Lake flipping. 27.
Not junk though. Were you flipping docks?
Flipping willow trees, man.
Oh yeah, it was. God, we need to take a break. We're gonna come back. All right. Talk about what went on in Florida for the first Bassmaster Open. Unlike last year, we'll talk about it. We kind of survived it, but we didn't really survive it.
Yeah, from an outsider looking in, we did quite well. Top 25% of the field. But with our new mathematical equation that we came up with on the way home, we suck.
It's a BTL on a Monday, February 7th, with Bradley Hallman in studio. We'll be back.
The Ultimate Fishing System by Lowrance. Your choice of powerful fish-finding tools, all connected. From sonar and trolling motor to navigation and networking. To fit the way you fish. All with touchscreen control from HDS Live, the heart of your system. Find more, see more, catch more with the Ultimate Fishing System by Lowrance. Upgrade to the Ultimate Fishing System and get up to $1,000 cash back.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
I've made my living on the water for over 20 years.
For 14 years.
For over 23 years.
I've worn a bunch of different clothing brands over the years.
Some companies big.
And some companies small.
All of them said they were making clothing for us. But none of them knew us.
None of them were us.
Except for one.
Except for one.
Except one.
AFCO.
AFCO.
AFCO. AFCO.
Fishing isn't part of us. It is us.
The KVD 100 jerkbait. 15 different colors. A perfect combination of roll, wiggle, and flash. Increased castability. 3D eyes. Premium black nickel hooks. KVD. Tie one on.
Elite Series Pro Daryl Gleason here. My Pro Guide batteries keep me going on those long tournament days and long practice days. Always plenty of juice, never fail. The best part about Pro Guide batteries, it's the people behind the company. They have over 40 years experience in the battery business, keeping all of us fishermen out on the water longer, catching more fish. Check them out at ProGuideBatteries.com.
What's up, Bass Talk Live fans? Brandon Polnick here. And ever since I won a couple Bassmaster Elite Series events on X-Zone Lures, I've been getting a bunch of questions of what makes them so special and different. And really, the truth is, it's in the details. The little details, things like no cheap fillers in their plastic. That gives you more lifelike action, more realistic and vibrant colors. But don't just take my word for it. Go to www.xzonelures.com and check them out for yourself.
The new Android series is the peak of the Denali lineup and offers the ultimate Denali experience. The Android series features 36-ton multi-directional graphite combined with interlock blank technology for added strength. Each rod is outfitted with Royal titanium guides that will not fail. The blank is fitted into an easy-touch, soft-feel EVA foam grip with exposed blank reel seat. This all allows the Android to transmit every movement of your bait and even the most subtle bites. The Android series is the finest rod Denali has ever made and offers an angler the ultimate fishing experience with a limited lifetime warranty. See the full lineup of Android rods at DenaliRods.com.
Welcome back to Bass Talk Live on Monday, February 7th. Bradley Hallman in studio. Just had a great first segment talking about all things going on in professional bass fishing.
Oh, where was that comment? I just saw
Brad's reading the instant feedback before we get into the second half of the show. And yes, we did have a new Denali commercial. Actually got to fish with the androids for the first time down there in Florida.
And yes, my power pole is fine after whacking that telephone pole on my way out. Dude, I was backing out after weigh-in, and I had my AFCO hood pulled up, and I just kind of glanced to my backside when I was backing out.
Wait. Where is this?
It was just after weigh-in in Florida the other day. There's a comment on there. Dude, I destroyed one of those poles on the dock.
Wait, your power
at the marina.
pole?
Oh. Yeah. I backed my entire boat into it. I had it in reverse, and I just kind of glanced, and that hood was up, and it's kind of like a blinder right here, but I thought I could see it. But man, I'm backing up, and I'm giving it to it pretty good. It's whack. It's like, oh God. I was glad it wasn't a boat. But yeah, everything was fine. It looked worse than what it was because the pole caught it, the power pole.
Right.
And you know how they are.
So that person had to have been there, and did you post about it or something?
No, somebody obviously saw it. James Wood
was a witness to it.
Was a witness. There was a lot of witnesses. It was loud, dude.
Really?
Yeah. I just didn't see it. I always hit stuff backing up. Truck, boat, both.
You know what I found in the open? So I'm a nervous individual, Brad.
No joke.
And I'm not nervous at the opens. Thankfully, with my job, with what I did with Bass Zone and the Elite Series, I've been to so many weigh-ins, and I learned how to back up and all that type of stuff. But, I was nervous through college on that, like backing in with the other college kids. Chip would always back me in, that type of thing.
Right.
And I'm not now. I've told the story about when I was the media observer. Have I told you that story? Media observer in the Chris Lane Classic, 2012.
Okay.
And I wanted to ride with a dude. It was his first Classic, and I like Marty Robinson, so I said, I'll ride with Marty Robinson. And we're there at the Red River, and I have my little camera and my sandwich bag, and I'm just going to sit there and mind my own business and put it in a little bass track on what Marty Robinson has. And it's dark, and he gets everything rigged, and he's like, all right, dump me in. Day one of the Classic, first morning. And I'm like, what? They got people for that. He's like, no, they don't. Dump me in. I said, okay. I mean, you can't just be, I could back, but I wasn't day one. And they had snow fence all around the ramp with the thousands of fans that were there watching everyone back in. Everyone's just, and everyone just assumed that I was totally cool with it because that was Matt from Bass Zone, and I fish, and I don't need he doesn't need, there's a guy that they can use to get in line to get someone else who didn't have someone to dump them in, right?
All right.
So there's like 7 or 8 lanes across this thing. A lot of lanes. And my time's coming, and I'm seeing, and I want one of those middle lanes where you can just kind of go and do your own thing. Of course, lane number 1 opens up. And lane number 1 is the width of the boat. And on one side is snow fence with ravenous fans hanging over, hollering at everybody. So I have and it's a deal where lane 1, the pull out is angled. So you have to turn the truck and then 90 degree it down into lane 1. Well, who's in lane 2? KVD. So I have to do a 90 degree turn down the ramp with snow fence and fans on one side, KVD on the other side, and a very nervous Marty Robinson about to fish his first Bassmaster Classic in the boat behind me. And he's got the blacked out topper and all that stuff. Yeah. So it's just a little, now thankfully he didn't have a super jacked up truck or anything like that. And you use the mirrors, 99% of the time anyway, but I had one shot at it. And I had the Eminem song, it's your one shot. And
your one shot to back a boat in the water.
And I dropped that thing straight as an arrow. And if someone right now was to ask me, probably my top 10 highlights, industry highlights from when I started this thing, my first time in 2007 till right now.
That's terrible.
That would be in the top 5.
That's terrible.
Of clutch performing under pressure moments in bass fishing history.
That's a terrible accomplishment. I'm sorry. God.
I was like 22, 24.
Oh, Matthew.
25, somewhere around there. All right, let's get into the open. What? You can picture me, right?
I can. Nervous as a cat.
Of all the ramps, too. If there's 8 ramps, you have what, a 16% chance of getting ramp 1? I was like, any ramp but ramp 1. because you're either taking out the crowd or you're running into KVD. Not like a Federation angler or something. No, crowd or Kevin. All right. So the Toho Open. Let me pull up the standings. We got to put these things in perspective here first. But starting out in Florida, I've learned is either typically really good or really bad. And
that is usually true, yeah.
I have done stories in the past called the Florida Factor for the Elite Series where it talks about, something like 37% of the anglers who top 50 in Florida go on to make the Bassmaster Classic, and the guys who don't ever cash checks, it's always an uphill climb for them. And now fishing all 9 of the Opens, we're in that position going down to Florida. You so more than me. You've started in Florida a lot. But this was my second time starting in Florida, and I realized last year after 111th place finish on the Harris chain that it's not fun trying to dig your way out of a hole, because I had 40th place finishes and 50th and 20s, and I'm sitting there finishing 43rd and 28th and 22nd, and I'm like, why am I not jumping up in these overall standings? And it was because of that triple-digit finish in Florida.
Right.
So I was always playing behind the 8 ball. So the whole goal going down there was, let's not play from behind this year. Kind of your strategy, or did you go down and say hero or zero?
No, my strategy's been different this year. I want to look at each 3 divisions and try to qualify through each division. The heck with the overall. I don't even want to focus on it. I just want to try to be in contention in all 3. Because I really focused on that Central last year, and it was close. I was really close, and it wasn't that difficult. Now, we did have one Oklahoma Lake on there to finish the season, which helped, but the Southern Division in particular looks like a really good schedule to me. But I just want to focus on each division and let the overall take care of itself.
So we both kind of had a much shorter practice than we did in Florida last year. I got down there. I drove all day Saturday, spent Sunday morning working on tackle, got on the water Sunday afternoon, put in Cypress, and then ran to Kissimmee on Sunday. And you drove all day Saturday as well?
Yeah, I got down there Sunday morning.
Tournament starts on Thursday, but we have to be off the water by noon on Wednesday. So really just Sunday, Monday, and Tuesday, and then part of Wednesday morning to break down the Kissimmee chain, which, how many lakes are, there's a bunch of lakes on it.
I know, but it's basically 4 or 5. It's basically 5 if you count the little one off to the east of Tiger Lake, if you count that.
So Toho.
Toho, Cypress, Hatchinall, Kissimmee, and Tiger.
And Tiger's kind of a
small pond.
5th one.
Yeah.
But they catch him in there from time to time.
From time to time.
And then there's a couple others you can get to if your heart's really set on it, but not historically productive.
That's the 5.
Okay, there's 5. 220, 18, 19, 20, 225 boats in this thing. What was your plan and strategy going into it, Brad?
I made staying arrangements down on Camp Mac because that keeps me out of the city a long way south, down on Lake Kissimmee. And Kissimmee's usually where I end up fishing the tournament. Toho is kind of the lake that we go out of. It's got a lot of hydrilla. There's a lot of offshore grass fishing, a lot like Lake Griffin on the Harris chain. Not really my cup of tea, Guys always catch them there. There's always top 10s there. Derby's one there. Like, it happens all the time. But Kissimmee is more stained. It's a larger lake. It's shallower. It doesn't have all the deep, I call deep. It's not out in the middle of the lake hydrilla. The fish just tend to be shallower, more target-oriented, my style of fishing. And then they usually bite really good down there too. But anyway, after an extended practice of just kind of jumping around, my practice is pretty simple to get over, dude. I had 2 bites a day every day. I never had more than that. Most of them would come in the last hour of the day, so basically you would fish the entire day from daylight till dark and get 2 bites right at the end of the day. There were beds. There were places that I was looking that they had been. I found one area that was just, dude, there was 200 beds in there, but there was nobody home, and it was because of the cold weather. The water temperature had dropped below in the low 50s, which obviously had been quite warmer than that for them to have been spawning the week before. But just kind of looking at the game plan of the week, I thought, every day it gets warmer and warmer and warmer. They're going to come, and they're going to come. And I know in Florida it happens fast because they're shallow. The lakes are shallow. They warm quickly. Every time I've been down there, I've always been amazed at how fast they progress or regress if a cold front comes. But it's because they're not very deep and there's just not that much to warm up. Anyway, long story short, by the end of practice, it was obvious that they were not coming soon enough. And so the guys that had bet on or practiced kind of in the conditions that were going on at the time, I knew they were going to have a leg up because the fish just did not push back up. And the ones that stayed, they won't bite. There just wasn't any activity up shallow early, towards the end of practice like I thought that it would progress that fast. And it never did. How about you?
Well, saying that was the talk when we got down there, and I had never experienced a Florida cold front before. I had only heard about it. So it's kind of like seeing a Sasquatch for me. Like, you covered tournaments, you've heard about it, you've heard the legends, but I've never been on the water.
Well, get used to it because every time you go down there, it happens every single year, it seems like.
I've never been on the water when it happened, and I remember I put in on Sunday, and I talked to you on
Sunday?
Yeah. I talked to you on Sunday.
Yeah.
And I never had a bite.
Yep.
Like, never had a bite.
Yep.
And I knew I was in trouble because Sunday we could still get information, right? You could still talk to people. We could talk to everyone in the tournament, but you just can't get outside information afterwards.
Right.
And I go down into Kissimmee, and I'm going down this line of hay grass. There's a backwater pond, and I don't know what it's supposed to look like. I've never been in Kissimmee. I've seen tournaments. I know it's supposed to be dirtier than the other ones, but I don't know what it's supposed to look like. And I'm coming from Oklahoma, where it's 40-degree water all the time right now. Mm-hmm. So I'm going down, and it's 51-degree water. And, chatterbait, I'm flipping a little Cinco, stuff you're supposed to do. I've heard you get bit. A little backwater area, it's got some pads. I'm going to ease in here, see what's up, see if it gets clear. And there's a boat, it's a bullet, and it's just sitting there, not doing anything. And I get within earshot, and I'm like, hey, you guys okay? And they're like, yeah, we're shiner fishing. And I was like, oh, I'm an idiot. And then I see their cork sitting out there. And I said, you doing any good? And they both just started laughing. They said, hell no. And I said, water normally look like this? And they said, nope. And I said, water normally 51? And they said, nope. And I said, you guys been down here a while? And they said, yeah. And I started talking to them. The guy was really nice from, I think, like Kentucky area. Where are we going next? Tennessee, that part of the country to come down. And he said, dude, he said, last week, he's like, I caught a 9 and a 7 out of this area, and it was 74-degree water and clear, like 4 days before we were there. And I looked down, and it's now not clear and 51. Mm-hmm. And they said, we haven't had a bite today.
Yeah.
And we've been everywhere, so we're just going back to where we know they are.
Yeah.
And then they left, and that's when I knew it was not going to be fun.
Right.
And I got 1 bite or 0 bites the first day. The second day, I wish I hadn't gotten any bites, but I got like 5 bites out in the grass on a drop shot with a spinning rod. And I had this big deal about how I wasn't going to throw the spinning rod when I went down to Florida, and I wasn't going to do the grass thing, but I stayed in Toho and I pitched it into the grass clumps, and I got some bites. And I think I caught 5 or 6 doing that. And I had 1 bite punching that I missed. The third day, I got 2 bites. And one of them was like a 13-incher, and one of them I missed. And then on Wednesday, I got 1 bite, and it was punching dead hyacinths. Mm-hmm. And after going 4 days with 4 bites on one of the days, and that's it, I jacked it, and it was like a 3-pounder. So that literally was the only thing I had to go off of. I had 7 bites in 4 days. Mm-hmm. It was not enjoyable.
No.
And their phone from other competitors, that's how you know it's tough, is who's calling you and the frequency of who's calling you. Would you agree that's a pretty good?
Yeah, I don't talk to a lot of people, so I don't call that much, or they call me. Of course, I talk to Andrew, and I talk to you a little bit, but Sukup called me. I've done it enough that, like, when I'm not getting bit, like, no bites all day long, I know I'm not the only one. Yeah. I mean, I know that it's tough.
But you told me, dude, they're coming. Because here's the thing. On the tournament days, 80 degrees, 85 degrees, 65-degree nights, and the water, it just seemed as practice went on, didn't warm as quickly as people thought it would.
How was the tournament won?
Shallow flipping.
Sight fishing, right?
Yeah, sight fishing, shallow flipping.
So they did come.
They
just
did.
They just
eventually.
didn't come everywhere.
But what I'm saying was, even though we weren't getting bit, you were one of those guys who's like, dude, it could go down.
Yeah, and I started practicing. Towards the end of practice, like the day that I went up to Toho, I started looking for places that they would show up first, what I would feel like they would show up first. So what looks good, where would they show up first? Where are some places that they were already bedding? So like I know the beds are empty right now, that's fine, but where are the beds? Where are the clean spots? Where have they already started working? And what's going to get the most sun? What's going to warm up the fastest? And that's basically how I kind of transition my practice to, I'm not going to worry about where I get my 2 bites for the darn day. I'm going to worry about where is it going to go down first if I just stay up here and try to maximize my time.
So you started out, and we each have 5 clips that kind of break down our tournament. We're going to play the clip. You should be able to hear audio. I think I've got it. And then kind of break down. So your first clip going into that tournament, I think you decided to go with the big stick and start by punching, right?
Yeah, I think I just added that clip this morning because that's how I really wanted to fish and how we should have been able to fish during the cold front. You know, it should have been mats, should have looked like this stuff right here that you know, and I still spent a lot of time doing this. I never got a bite in the tournament. That's a good looking hyacinth, man.
You can keep talking here. I don't have audio for this one.
Well, there wasn't any audio to it. I just put it in here. It's just a little clip, you know, swing them big rod, you know, it's 1.25 ounces weight. That typically, you know, a point right there of isolated, look how thick that is. That's usually high potential. I'm sitting over top of a hydrilla bed. There potentially could be a hole in there, but I spent a lot of time doing this in the tournament. I spent a lot of time doing it in practice. It just was not productive for me. I know that there was some fish caught that way. I believe you caught a big one.
And we'll get to that there.
But
But it's kind of hollow under there. It seems like the hydrilla or the stuff kind of, it's not as dense underneath.
Well, potentially what happens is that hyacinth pushes up on top of that hydrilla mat. And if it's there for a long time, it will actually kill the hydrilla underneath it and create a hole. That's what you're looking for. That's what you're hoping. You want it hollow underneath.
All right. So how long did you did that? You started out that in the morning and 0 bites. Because where this is going a very opposite direction of where I expected it to go. Because as my day went on, all I was thinking was Brad's probably just murdering them through the hydrilla mats. But your first fish on day 1 actually came on a spinning rod.
I probably fished with a spinning rod 10% of this tournament, and probably 90% of my fish came from it. Probably.
Really?
Yeah, it was one of those areas that I talked about, you know, that I felt like that they would come up first, and they weren't in there spawning. That's not how I caught them, but they were still some males lingering around, and some of them weren't that big, but, you know, it was enough to get me, you know, close to that 20-pound mark for 2 days, you know, to keep me from finishing 156th, you know.
Hold on, let me get this.
He's having a hard time rolling them.
No, I'm not. I'm trying to get the audio to share because you say some interesting.
I'm with you.
Stuff here. There you go.
Yeah, but this is not my, you know, favorite way to fish Florida. I don't mind the spinning rod around bedding fish, but you know, sometimes that's what it takes. But these were not even bedders. This was just trying to get a bite. This is something I thought of that morning.
That doesn't mean she didn't slip out though.
Maybe a Ned rig.
They're sneaky little dudes. Like you said, nature finds a way. Nature finds a way.
Notice the hat Jeremiah's wearing in the back
I wish
of that
it
boat.
was.
BTO.
Yeah.
Tell by the rod.
But it's a good little keeper.
That's all that matters, right?
On a day like today, first fish of the day, and it's like,
Right there, little one.
All right, there you go. So that was your first one. What made you pick up a Ned rig? Because that shocked me. Like that, I didn't even have any Ned rig stuff in the boat.
That little ditch didn't have any grass or anything, and like I said, there weren't fish on the beds in there. So I was hoping maybe potentially pick up. I threw it in a little swim bait. I was just trying to find something because I felt like that there had to be some fish still lingering in there, even though they weren't on the beds, because there's so many beds in there, empty beds, from the week prior. I was just looking for something that they hadn't seen, and trying to generate a darn bite. But I ended up catching quite a few fish on that thing.
So my first fish, I did the same. I started on offshore grass, where I'd had those bites on the drop shot, and I thought I had not been there first thing in the morning. So I thought first thing in the morning, maybe they're active there. It's now 57, 58 degree water. I'd caught them when it was 54 degree water. Maybe I can roll an Aruku shad. Maybe I can roll a jackhammer, get a little bit a tour speed worm, something like that, to get a bite. And I did that for 2 hours and caught nothing, like no bites. And there's 10, 15 boats around, and no one's caught anything. And I remember doing my homework for this, and one of the things that I remember was if there's wind on the Kissimmee grass edge, you could generate a reaction bite, particularly with a spinnerbait. And I had a spinnerbait and a chatterbait tied on. So I went to a stretch of grass that I had never seen in my life. I drove around. It was hitting. The wind was hitting it. I told my co-angler, I said, we're going to roll down this grass for an hour. I have no idea if it's a good area or not, but based on the bites I've had, I'm not going to die out on the grass, and we're just going to go search. So my first one was about a 13-incher, but it put something in the box at like 9:30, and actually was kind of a big fish for me. I caught 3 pickerel, too, right in the mouth of this little thing, so I thought this was a chain pickerel, too. I said, no, it's a bass. It's actually... Number 1, thank God. Woo, not a big one. But we got one. I was stressed out, man, if you can't tell. But so and I only had 4 fish on the first day, so that actually ended up with my weight.
You only had 4 the last day. I didn't realize that. First day, I mean. Yeah. I didn't realize that.
No, I had that little baby one, 2 good ones, a giant, and that's it.
I just saw your weight, and it was like 12 or...
So I could have had a mega bag. So one of our buddies, I'm actually wearing the shirt, John Sokup from the Bass Tank, made the top 10.
Yep.
Had a great event.
Yep.
But actually kind of threw a bone and was like, man, if you are really stinking, if you really can't catch them, there's always fish in the canals and you can go in and live scope them. He's like, probably not the thing to be doing, but if you need a keeper, you can do it. Did he tell you that too? A little bit a roundabout way?
No. He called me the first day, and, like I said, I hadn't talked to anybody, but I had 2 bites. And he's like, how you doing? I was like, 2 bites. I said, how about you? He said, I don't know, could have had 16, 17, maybe 18 pounds. I'm like, really?
No, he spun me out.
He didn't spin me out. I knew that he was doing something that I was not capable of doing at the level that he does it.
You probably didn't badger him the way I did, though.
No, because I wasn't even going to go try. Okay, great. Good for you, dude. I mean, I'm used to it with him too right now too, because that's kind of where he is. He's in King Kong world, So,
I said, so I can pick any canal on this chain and go in there and be around bass. And he goes, 100%, dude. He goes, they live in there. They're always in there.
Mm-hmm.
He said, coal front. He goes, it's a channel. When I said, and I can do the thing we do, he said, yeah, just. So I went and tried it, and I caught a catfish, a crappie, and a bass in practice in an hour.
Yeah.
So now it's 10. I have 0 confidence in my offshore grass. Haven't only gotten 1 bite punching in 4 days, and I tell my co-angler, hey, we're going to lock through to go fish a canal.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's funny that y'all all got to call them a canal. It's not a canal. It's the river. It is the river. You and John both called it a canal all week. It's the river. That is the river.
Really?
Well, yeah.
Well, how was it so perfectly straight, though?
It's man-made.
Then it's a canal.
Yeah, but, you're fishing the river.
Really?
That is the Kissimmee River. It flows all the way into Okeechobee.
Oh, is that why there is oxbows off of it?
Yep. It's the river. I mean, that's what I call it. You know, I mean, it's the river.
I just looked
It's
it
the
up.
river channel. It's the reason there's red buoys and green day markers going down the thing.
Canals are artificial, human-made channels or waterways that are used for navigation. Rivers, on the other hand, are naturally flowing water courses.
You're looking at the actual definition of.
I feel
a
so.
river
I
and
feel
a
like it's a river that they turned into a canal. Is that fair?
Well, it's a river that they made navigational. That's fair.
Okay. So I go into, I go through the lock, and I go into the canal or river.
Okay. The canal. A canal to me is something that's dug off the side of the lake that is dredged out and you go back into.
Okay. That's fair. And I start scoping them.
Uh-huh.
And I have one lock it up. I got 2 clips here. I spent 2 hours in that. I caught 1 2-pounder, but I did not realize it at the time. But this was a. I don't really think there was anything I could do here, but this was a hurtful loss right here. Watch, you can see him looking. Watching. And I didn't realize I paused it this long. It was a big fish. I could see his.
Got it.
No, it came off.
Oh, yeah. Like, locked it up for just a split second.
That hurts.
Here it comes
dude.
again.
That hurts.
Got it. No, it came off.
And I was trying to explain to my co-angler, like, how I knew that was a bass and not anything else. He's like, well, how did you know it was big? And I was like, because it was like, brr, brr, brr. Anyway. We'll go to that. So then I actually did end up catching one. And it absolutely just rocketed up and ate it head first.
There it is.
So that was my second fish.
Nice one. Let's go to the fish.
You know, historically, there's been many fish caught out of this. Usually, in years past, it's been current driven when there's a lot of current moving through the river, through the lake system, and guys are cranking a lot of times. But those rocks that were usually cranking, you can see the lake is so low that most of that man-made structure or cover was out of the water.
Mm-hmm.
You can see the rocks all the way down through there, and the lake is about a foot and a half low.
So anyway, that was my second one. So now I'm already at like midday, and all I've got is that little 13-incher on the chatterbait, and that fish out of the canal. So you can tell I'm really dialed in on a pattern on day one. But you kind of got something going there after that. You ended up catching a couple more on that Ned rig.
Yeah, once that first fish bit underneath that dock, I was like, ooh, I think I found where you're hiding. So, I mean, literally, the next dock I came to on the other side of the canal, I just skipped up underneath there and caught another one. And then I just kind of took it from there and just started running that stuff because I had to catch some fish. I mean, it was later in the morning and I needed some fish in the box. But
Well, I know where I'm fishing today.
Yep.
I'm going to stay in here.
I did leave there. I didn't stay very long, but I caught some out on the main lake too. There's quite a few docks, good docks, out on the main lake.
No one else in there?
No, because there was no bass up there hardly, so there was no fishermen. Historically, years past, there's always lots of fishermen, quite a few fish, but this year they just weren't pushed. There just wasn't that much up there. They all they stayed out in the hydrilla.
You did jump off a good one though. When I was going through the the clips.
Yeah. That was kind of
And you kind of were chill with it.
It's the best fish I saw that day. I think I weighed, dude, I'm not kidding. I think I weighed this bass in on day 2. The same fish that I lost right here. Really? I think I get it to bite again the next day. Yep. It was by far the best fish I had on that day, though, for sure.
Fish on. Yep. Better than the other 2. And she come loose.
How does that happen?
I didn't do nothing wrong. That one.
You know, you got an open hook on a Ned head, a little bitty hook. How does that happen?
I don't know.
That was just a bad deal.
Were they spawning up there? Or?
She could have been, like I said, there's a lot of beds in there. You know, she could have been out in front of that little man-made, whatever that hoist was. And she could have been, but I mean, you couldn't see her. It was deep enough that you couldn't see her. But that's potentially why I think I caught that same fish. Dude, the next day on the same cast, I caught a fish that was about that size.
Really?
Yep.
And then I thought it was interesting. When you caught your fifth one, which is your last clip here, and I'll explain why. I don't have a lot of my day 2 was very interesting. But you really went to the docks, and I never. I mean, I looked at 1 or 2, and it never clicked with me on that was a really good way to catch a limit.
You know, I'm a dock fisherman. I understand them. I mean, it was just a tough day. I mean, I was just doing my game plan for this tournament going in. I was like, I'm just going to fish whatever's in front of me. I'm staying up here at the north end. I don't care what it is. And that's basically what I did. And the docks ended up being what I got on.
Let me share this screen here before I hit play. So up underneath those docks, were those docks not just choked out with hydrilla, and were they not sprayed?
No, that's what makes them so good. So there's hydrilla all the way around it, but up underneath it where the sun doesn't get, it doesn't grow. So there's a hole there. That's what makes them special.
All right. Oh, that's a good.
Number 5. 5 alive.
Jeremiah was great, dude.
Yes, sir. I'm a dog dude, man. How to play. Better than a stick in the eye.
There you go. So that was your day 1.
Mm-hmm. Pretty much. I think I caught 8 keepers on day 1. Cold 3, maybe 4 times. Just fishing like that.
So I go back into Toho at around 2, and I randomly go across a hydrilla mat. I'd gotten bit out of one probably 100 yards away, and I power pulled down, and I had a 5:30 check-in. I've got those 2 fish, and I said, I'm going to pick this apart, because I had asked you, so how do you fish those? You punch them once, you punch them twice, like, are they in there swimming around and they get it? Like, do I pick it apart? So I had decided that it would take me about 20 minutes if I went every 6 inches on this mat.
Every 6 inches.
Well, it was the only mat that I'd gotten bit out of in practice, right?
Right.
And it was in a little patch of hay grass that was at the mouth of a spawning bay. The fish was super fat, had eggs pouring out. Okay. Well, I did it for 30 minutes, nothing. So I go past another one, pitch in, 2-pounder. So now I've got 3. So I do that for 2 more hours, nothing. Like, no bites, no feedback. I look at the offshore stuff, ghost town now. All the boats are gone. And typically that doesn't happen in Florida offshore if they're biting. I mean, guys will live out there, right?
Yep.
And so now I am clueless. Well, in practice, I had been in one area, and it just was like, it was the first dead hydrilla mat that I had seen. Or not hyacinth mat. And I didn't know what they looked like. That's how green I am at this.
I understand.
And I'm going into this area, and I look to my left, and I'm like, I think that's one of them. I think that's one. It's one. And it's got mixed grass in it. It's got some pads, and it's got some Kissimmee grass, and it's got some...
That's good stuff.
Is that called primrose?
Primrose.
It's got a mixture of grass. And it had some docks behind it, and I did not get any bites out of there. But I was like, there should have been a fish there, especially if it moved. But in the back, around the docks, I saw some like 10-inchers swimming around. So I was like, there had to be big ones out there. So I've got like 20 minutes left to fish, and I roll up to a stretch of reeds that this is no joke, Brad, that I think I might have had a bite in during practice.
So you got 20 minutes left to fish. You got 3
for 5 pounds.
For 5 pounds in the boat.
And I decide to go to a stretch of reeds that I think I might have had a bite in. Like, it was weird when I went to pull it out of the reed. I told
I'm with
the
Jeffrey.
guy I was
I'm with
practicing
Jeffries.
with.
I'm with Jeffries on the whole horseshoe deal with you, dude. I do.
No, because day two, you'll that horseshoe.
Roll its clip because I want to see this fish.
So I make like 4 casts where I think, and I tell my co-angler, I said, this doesn't feel right. I don't like it. This is dumb. That's what I said. I remember I going, this is dumb. And I said, but that spot that looked really good that had the bucks, I said, that's only like 5 minutes away. I was like, and I'll get 5 minutes to fish there.
Yeah.
And so I try to get on pad. I overheat the motor. I get everything clogged up. I finally get it on pad. It's going beep, beep. It goes into guardian mode. And as I get to the spot, I tell him, dude, maybe I should just try to get my fish in and just not mess with it. And I'm like, but there's nothing wrong with the motor. I'm like, I'm here. I said, we'll fish it for 5 minutes.
Yep.
So I ease in. I had a 5:10 check-in time, and I think it's like 4:51.
Wow.
When this
I want to see this. I was driving down here this morning. I was like, man, I hope he plays the 7-pounder.
When this goes down. So let me get this queued up on the full screen. Hold on here. And we're good. Hold on. I'm still working on this. I think I have to hit something else to get the volume on here. Yep. Because the volume's kind of important on this one, Brad. All right. We're good to go. See, I look over. Yep. I don't know what I saw. I mean, I look at all the good stuff on the right, but I look over to the left. And then he's on there. Look, he's on there.
Good God. Good God. Oh, and you boat flipped it. God, that's good stuff. That is huge. Boom. Blow him over the side. Yeah,
that'll help.
Yes, it will.
BFE?
Yeah, BFE, 1.25 ounce, tungsten.
Oh, that's good stuff.
See, this is the part that I don't get right here. Watch this. Watch this right here. See, I'm pitching here. I'm focused on this side now. Boom. Look, I look over and I reel in and I said, oh, I see something there. And I don't know what I saw. I can't remember what I saw.
Dead high.
But watch right here. Boom, he hit it right there. And he pulls down.
Good God.
I love it. I love it.
That is huge.
There's nothing better. That's the best fight in the world. She's fat, too.
Yeah.
That'll help.
Yes, it will.
Oh, I'm jealous.
Yeah, so that was my tournament, dude. I had 20 pounds of fish that I weighed in 1914, and that was 7 pounds of it.
Yeah, that's the bite that you dream of. It's nice to get 5 of those bites, but yeah, I mean, dude, that's when you go back and you look at that mat is ideal, right? Because you see how small and compact it was right up against Kissimmee grass line. Let
me go back to it, and you can break down this mat. Because I really don't know what I'm breaking down here. All right.
So like right where you are right now, there's not even really a mat there. It's just thick. You've got pads, and those look like flat pads too. Those aren't even the spatter dock pads.
You're talking about the pads on the right here.
Yes, correct. So
if
if you study pads, those are flat pads. Those are really good in the summertime, but they're not really a springtime deal because they don't spawn on them very much because the root system to them is very thin and kind of soft and goes down. The pads to your left, they're sticking up, See them
These
sticking
right here?
Yeah, those are what are actually spatter dock, I believe is what they're called. That's what they call them up northeast anyway. But the pad stem to them is much larger and stiff and hard, and they use those to spawn on. Now, where you flip is actually hyacinth that has drifted in there and floated up against the Kissimmee.
Right there.
Yep, it's floated up against the Kissimmee grass line, and it's created a mat of shade right there on the Kissimmee grass line. So that fish that's using that trail that your boat's in,
where I saw the small bucks swimming around, we're in like 2 foot of water where I'm circling with the mouse back here.
Right. And bass in Florida, like in Oklahoma or Tennessee or somewhere, that they use creek channels and things like that to migrate. In Florida, there are no creek channels. It's a natural lake. It's flat, and they use those as the highways to navigate between spawning summer, spring spots. You're right on the highway, number one, which makes it high potential. Number two, you've got a small mat. So like the mat that I showed where I was fishing, they could be anywhere up underneath there for as far as you can't even cast. Here, they're either going to be right there on that one little pitch that you made, or there's nothing there. You see what I'm saying? Yeah. So those little mats are the deal. That's textbook.
Can we watch it one more time?
Absolutely.
I don't think we have sound on this one. But I wasn't sure. So here's the other part. So watch. Look at my rod right there. That fish has it, and I never felt that he had it. This is disturbing to me because I pop it again too. Look, I feel, I pop, and then I hit him. He had it for a while and was not moving with it. Mm-hmm. Is that typical, or do you typically
go back, rewind it again? Because generally speaking, big fish, go all the way back to your flip. Generally, big fish, there's no hop. They get it on the first go through.
Because watch, hop, boom.
Yeah, right there, she already had it. Yeah, the third time you hopped it, she already had it. Watch your rod stop. She doesn't have it there. She doesn't have it there. Right here, she's got it. Yep.
So it was 2 hops in.
Uh-huh.
Boom. So boom, 1, 2, 3.
She's got it the whole time right
4,
there. You're pulling on it.
About 4 seconds. She had it before I set the hook.
It was a good thing that you dropped your rod, though, because you were too high.
Do you like the hook set, though? You're good with that?
I wasn't going to say anything, but no. You throw slack in it, so go back where you set the hook. When you drop your rod right here, it's very dangerous. That second that it goes all the way down, you're throwing slack in that braid, and that's where guys get in trouble. Yep, that's where guys get in trouble with that big weight, because what it does is it blows their mouth open. You want to reel. See, I can even tell when you drop. You want to keep reeling. As long as you set the hook with a tight line, you're good. Okay. If you initiate hook set from a tight line, you're okay. Good God. It's not about not swinging hard. It's about not dropping slack to where you're swinging slack.
Blow it out of the fish's mouth.
Doesn't matter. You landed it, so.
Yeah. But I need to learn this stuff for the future.
It's hard, dude, in the moment like that.
Yeah. So then I ran in. And that was it for my day. And I had 12.7, and I was in the top 30, and it looked like I knew what I was doing in Florida.
Mm-hmm. You did look like you knew what you were doing in Florida. When I saw the weight, I was like, damn, he had a good day.
Now imagine if I'd added that one canal fish or river fish.
Oh, yeah, you'd have really been smoking on them. Yeah.
Because I only had 4. Now, here's the other thing that you'll find from day 2, and I don't think you sent any. You don't have any clips from day 2. Was it just kind of a carbon copy of what went down?
No, I wanted to put day 2, and I'm going to talk about day 2. But, dude, I put a chip in, recorded all day. So I ran 2 cameras, but my one on me, the one that I wanted to use, it's got the good audio. Mm-hmm. It was a new card. I filmed all day. I came home this morning at 4:30 in the morning. I stick it in. Yeah, it's like this card needs formatted. I know for a fact I hit format on that camera before. Start,
Well, that's fine. So before we get into day 2, we're going to take a quick break because I also had some issues with an SD card. Now, I know where it is. I just can't get it because I only had 128. I had a 64. After my chaotic morning, you're out. I go to change it, and when I depress it, the thing just shoots like a jack-in-the-box out of the camera and lands in the crack between my driver's side rod box and the console. So with a flashlight, I can see it, but it's 4 inches down there, and I need something very slender and sticky. That sounded weird. To to fish the chip out.
Yeah.
But we'll get into day 2 of the Bassmaster Open from Toho when we come back after these breaks.
Even if I sucked, we still had winter chicken dinner in my boat day 2.
For sure.
So, you're looking to buy fishing electronics, huh? Are you also looking for true experts to help guide you through it? Well, at the Bass Tank, you've come to the right place. We are live forward-facing sonar pioneers with thousands of hours spent learning through winning trophies, cashing checks, and just having fun. Whatever brand you need, we have it. We offer free shipping, and we have 2 financing options available. Our experts are here to help you. Call us today or visit thebasstank.com.
Combining one of the most popular hook styles with Gamakatsu's beefier Superline offering, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend delivers the strength necessary to target big fish in heavy cover. Well suited for braided line and heavier fluorocarbon, the Gamakatsu Superline Offset Round Bend is built using stronger Superline wire that allows anglers to easily fish a finesse worm around heavy cover. The round bend offers a larger bite area, perfect for any worm presentation, while increasing your hookup ratios. The newly enhanced Z-bend holds your plastics on the hook longer, reducing the number of pull-offs and reducing damage to plastics. Available in 2/0, 3/0, 4/0, and 5/0, this is the most durable worm hook, designed for heavier lines that hold your bait on longer.
Preparation is key to success. And that preparation starts well before you ever hit the water. You're only as strong as your connection to the fish, and your line is that critical connection. Confidence in your line every minute of every day on the water is a necessity, and failure, it's not an option. Sunline makes the fluorocarbon, nylon, and braided lines to give you the strength to guarantee your confidence.
Vibrating jigs are a great choice for any time of year, and the Kamikaze Swim-On is a perfect match for any vibrating jig. 2 sizes and the unique tail design gives it a bait fish profile and a great swimming action for realism. There are 17 colors. See them all at bigbitebaits.com.
The Spro Little John crankbait has been around for almost 15 years, and it is one of my go-to crankbaits whenever I need a fish in the boat, so you can never have enough new colors. That's why Spro's coming out with a handful of new colors, including Pearl Shad, which has this bleached out white look, but it's got this pearlescent, really, really pretty. We've got Copper Shad, which looks amazing in the water. It's got that purple flake on the back, really, really pops in the water. And then if you want some real pop, we've got Sparkle Shad, nothing but sparkles all over this thing. And then last but not least, we've got the matte Sexy Shad, just a really different looking color for a crankbait. So you want to give them a little different look, that matte Sexy Shad is definitely the one to go with. All these colors are available in the original Little John and the MD.
Welcome back to Bass Talk Live, February 7th. It's a Monday. Bradley Hallman in studio, and I'm breaking down a little game footage, a little game tape from our first Bassmaster Southern Open that we just got back from down on Lake Toho, the Kissimmee chain in Florida, where Bradley finished 57th out of 230 plus boats with 19-1. And I finished in 49th with 19-14. And we're kind of showing how you can do 2 completely opposite things and end up with basically the same weight in the same part of the standings. But this one's even more messed up because we did it in reverse. You're in the canals on day 1, skipping a Ned rig around docks, talking about points, and I'm boat flipping 7-pounders out of hyacinth mats.
I know it. That's what I was just thinking. I knew when we got into this that this was going to be totally opposite of what we normally do. But a lot of guys think that just because we talk about the things that we talk about, like I never touch a spinning rod, you know.
And I never touch a bait casting rod.
Right. It's not necessarily the case. It's just not what we prefer to do all the time.
All right, so before the break, we talked about how we both had some issues with SD cards. Now, mine's formatted, all the footage there. I just have to figure out how to get it back from the crack in between the rod box.
I understand.
And it happened, and I went, pretty much par for the course for the day. So I did get the second half of the day where some crazy stuff happened. But what went down on day 2, you were in the upper middle of the pack with, 9 and change?
Yeah. Yeah, I was, few places back from where I ended up finishing. But, I mean, if I could go catch 12, 13 pounds, I thought I had a shot at a check. And, you know, that was kind of my game plan. Now, you kind of saw how my day kind of went. I'm not around a whole lot of fish. Just trying different things. Like I say, I'm just fishing whatever's in front of me. Grass, flipping pads, whatever, you know, punching, mat if it's in front of me. I'm just trying to maximize my time, and there's just not a lot going on. And we get our pairings by phone, and generally it's by a phone call that you get, you know, for your partner. And I get a phone call from my partner, and Ron Shakespeare, like Shakespeare rods. And Ron's talking to me about, you know, how I'm going to be fishing tomorrow, what all we're doing. I say, hey, man, I'm just staying on Toho. Not a lot out there for us, you know. I'm just trying to catch 10, 12, 13 pounds, you know, to stay in this thing, hopefully get up into the top 40 and make a check. It's not a lot of bites. It's a grind. It's an all-day deal. He says, are you fishing any offshore grass? I said, no, you know, it's not really my game. I know that, you know, there's guys catching fish out there and stuff. It's not really what I want to do. I just want to stay on the bank and just kind of fish what's ever in front of me. And he says, okay, that's fine. He's like, I'll make the best of it. And I'm like, make the best of it. Did you catch him today, Ron? Yeah, I had a pretty good day. What's a good day, Ron? Well, I'm leading the tournament. And I'm thinking, well, crap. No, I'm not a good draw for that because there's just not that much around me. You know what I mean?
Like there's a dock that you're fishing a Ned rig with.
Right. Like there's just not that much. And this is not good. And I'm just thinking, I said, well, how much did you have today, Ron? He said, 13.8. I'm thinking, good night. Because they've only got a 3-fish limit, right? Yep. 3 fish.
That's strong.
So this guy, normally how this conversation starts, like we've been doing this a while. Normally how this starts is that some guy from, and I'm not picking on any state in particular, but let's just say he's from Tennessee because that's where I was born, so I can make fun of it. The guys normally, how this conversation goes is the guy's from Tennessee. He couldn't catch a fish out of a stock pond, but he comes down there with his buddies. He draws out with the best local fishermen on the lake. They go straight to the glory hole that's taken that guy 30 years to, you know, and today is the day, and he catches 27 pounds, and the co-angler catches 3 really good ones. He's leading the tournament. And then the second that he calls you, he's like, hey, man, I'm leading the tournament, and I really got to catch some fish. Well, what are you fishing? Well, I'm fishing, you know, the bank. I'm just, you know, docks, rocks, whatever's in front of me, that's what I'm fishing. You're not fishing, you know, in the middle of the lake. You're doing everything wrong. You should be doing this. You should be doing that.
Because he just saw it go down.
Yeah, he just saw it go down. But what you're not realizing is there's 500,000 acres of that out there to go find that
and
one
he
little
ain't going
spot.
to the leader spot.
And it took that dude 30 years to find, you know. So, and then you have to hear that all day long out of the back of the boat. That guy, I don't feel sorry for, and I don't do what I did on day 2.
For Mr. Shakespeare.
That's correct. He didn't approach it that way. He was like, I'll make the best of it. And I'm just thinking. He told me that he was from St. Cloud.
Which is where the tournament was going out of.
Correct. And I said, you fish here quite a bit. He said, yeah, dude, all the time. He said, I'm in first place and my team partner's in second. He said, we're just sitting here having a beer, laughing, joking about who's going to win. I said, you got any waypoints on that boat of yours that's got grass beds that you might want to go to, like what you were talking about? He said, absolutely. Which in the opens, we're allowed to get, you know, the co-anglers can share information with the boaters as long as it's theirs. I said, the only rule I have is we can't go within a mile of where you were yesterday. He said, we going to stay on Toho? And I said, yeah. And he said, well, that's easy because we locked down.
There you go.
I said, all right, bring your digits and put them in the morning and I'll start wherever you want. I said, I will give you the first 2.5 hours of the day to give you a shot. So he did. He showed up the next morning. He put his digits in. I said, which one you want to go to first? He said, that one right there, without a shadow of a doubt. That's the one I want. We run to the bottom end of Toho out in the middle of the lake. He catches a 3-pounder. First one, I catch a little one. He catches another one. A little later in the day, we go to another spot he's got, and we pull up there, and I could see him on live scope. I think I caught the first one, and I've spot locked, and the boat's pointing at it like, you know, and I'm sitting down, and I'm like, he's not throwing up there. And I'm like, throw up there. And he's like, well, are you sure? I don't want to throw. I said, dude, you got a derby to win. Throw up there. It's why we're here. Yeah. He throws up there, catches another one, and I'm doing the math in my head because I was thinking, you know, 13, if he catches 6 or 7, 19, 20 pounds, with the 3-fish limit, you've got a fighting chance like you've done it. And I was worried about him being able to do that you very potentially could have been a 1 or 2 fish deal, and if they'd have been smaller, he might have
doing what you were doing,
doing what I was doing,
trying to pick up the fish behind you.
Correct. So the fact that his first one was a 3-pounder off his spot was great, and I think he caught 3 and I caught 3, and then it got to be about noon, and I was like, all right, dude, I got to go catch a limit. So he had 6 pounds and 2 ounces is what he weighed in, but he went on to win the tournament.
Cool.
Great guy.
Very cool.
Special deal. I mean, dude, I realize that those trophies are special, but like he said a lot of the right things that just really made me want to help him. He made the comment once, he's like, dude, it ain't about the money. I want the trophy. And I was like, right answer.
Cast up there.
right answer. But
did you go back into the canals and do the Ned rig, and did you try the punching and all that?
No, I definitely went back and did, because I only had 3. Like noon, I was like, all right, Ron, I got to go catch a limit now. And so we went in there, and then I caught 3 or 4 more keepers and cold up to 10 pounds. So
how long? I'm just surprised that you put the big stick down.
Oh, as soon as I had a limit, we still had 2.5 hours left in the day. And I asked Ron, I said, you good with flipping? He was like, dude, we love to flip for a big one. He's already got his limit. So I was like, let's get on a mat line and let's go. And we literally fished mats for 2.5 hours nonstop. He had one little nibble that he was like, it was at the top of a mat. He's like, it could have been a brim, but basically we never had a bite. But we went down swinging the big stick. And I was hoping to run into something like what you ran into, because, dude, if I catch that fish right at that point, it shoots me all the way into the top 20.
Yeah.
Never got it. Never got that bite.
So overall, though, grinded it out. A top 10 wasn't there for you this week based on what you had found. You made the best of what could have potentially been.
For 2 bites a day in practice, I just tried to make the most of it. The only thing that I see that I could have done different was, like, I started right there by takeoff. Some of the guys, they had the little flotilla out there in the offshore hydrilla, and that was the successful bet. There were guys there that made top 20s. But, man, like I say, that's just not my deal. But it doesn't matter. I didn't know that they were out there. If I'd have known for a fact that they were sitting there like that, I would have started there and fished there myself. But I was just bouncing around because, honestly, I hadn't practiced that much on Toho. I was just not wanting to go to Kissimmee to maximize my time.
I mean, I think the amount of grass in Toho
it's overwhelming.
I know that's what saves the good spots. I mean, they're
100%.
It's the definition of needle in a haystack.
It is.
Because 100%, me and you drove over incredible spots having absolutely no idea, because it's like it's just out in the middle of the lake. There's no contour line. There's not really much that you can say, hey, this is a section or whatever. It's just you got to find the right stuff.
So Charlie Hartley, if you're listening, that spot, that my buddy's waypoint.
Oh, you saw him out there, yeah.
It was the spot Charlie was catching them. And we'd caught a couple there, and he wanted me to go down the grass line about 150 yards. So we start there. He catches a 3-pounder. I catch one. And then we go down the grass line about 150 yards. And when we turn around to kind of work our way back, Charlie Hartley's sitting right there. And he's spot locked, and he's not moving. And Charlie had a good tournament. So I think Charlie just sit there and seined him.
That'll work. So I go into day 2 and the morning.
Hey, Ron Shakespeare right there.
It is. Oh, yeah, he's on there. He said, I will never forget that day with you. Thank you, Bradley. That was a heck of a thing to do, Brad.
Good dude.
I go into day 2, and the one thing I said that I did last year was I played it too safe.
Yeah.
I went with the spinning rod. I tried to catch it. I went back into, what did he say?
Spinning rod, what?
He said he didn't mention that when I talked to him on the phone, I asked him for a back seat post. He basically said no.
I told him he had a derby to win.
He said, no, you're going to win this derby.
You got time to be sitting down. You got to win this thing, man.
Oh, that's freaking great. So like I said, I go into day 2, and last year I said, man, I played it too safe. I didn't take any chances. There's times with my gut that I said, I want to go do this, and I didn't do that. So I'm sitting in the little takeoff area, and the water's like 63.5 degrees. So I pull out my little dipper swim bait, and I tell my co-angler, I said, we're going for it. I said, we're going to start on a stretch of grass that I've never fished, and I'm going to see if these fish moved up shallow, and we're going to do it first thing in the morning. And there were some that had moved up shallow, and I had one between 4 and 5, like 10 minutes in on the edge of it, just absolutely come unglued. I mean, Scary bite. Completely out of the water. Had it, fought it, lost it in the Kissimmee grass after probably about 5 seconds. I'll get the footage. It'll eventually be there. Then I had one about 1.5 pounds. I went back behind the Kissimmee grass. I jumped it off. I mean, I'm using the right stuff. Like it's not like I'm throwing it on fluorocarbon with a 2-aught.
Right.
I mean, I've got a big 5-aught EWG,
On
super
braid.
line,
I get it.
50-pound braid, 7.6, but with a little bit of soft tip to it, so I'm not ripping it from them. I'm letting them get it to where I feel the fish before I set the hook. So that's 2. And then 5 minutes later, I see a little hole, and I chuck back there, and a 4 or 5 just launches out of the water and eats it and lands in a hyacinth mat next to it, and I can't get her out and lose her too. Mm-hmm. So now I've got none. And I pulled out the spinning rod, and this is where things get crazy, because the evening before the tournament started, so Wednesday evening, Charlie was like, "Hey man, I got to show you the pond fishing, Florida pond fishing, right?" And I had my little wacky worm, and he had his deal, and he's like, "You're going to get your butt kicked by my deal." So after he kicked my butt with his deal, I said, "You got any more of those?" He said, "Yeah." So then I caught a couple at the pond, little ones, big ones, and whatever. And I said, "This would probably work on Toho, wouldn't it, Charlie?" And he just giggled, like Charlie giggles.
Yeah.
And then he gave me a pack of them. It's just this crazy, because I pull it out. I caught all 5 of my fish on that thing on day 2. The first one was like a 3-pounder. And then I wasn't going to lock. It was already like 11. I had 1 fish. I had lost 3 for 14 pounds. It wasn't going well. I'd punched for 2 hours, 0 bites. I went to a mat that was there. The mat was like gone. I didn't know hyacinth mats moved. It was literally gone. Like there was no hyacinth there.
Right.
And I had caught one in it the day before. And I pulled it out, and I said, "I wonder if Charlie's little deal will work." And I went right back, and I will share the screen now because it will look very familiar. Right back to the same little canal that I caught the 7.5 pounder out of.
Really?
It's not even a canal. It's just a ditch.
Right.
And I punched it, the same stuff, back and forth, spent an hour in there. But my co-angler caught 2 on the edge of the flat pads, on the edge of the pads, and they were just little bucks. And I said, "I bet Charlie's little deal will work." And I pulled the spinning rod out, and I caught 4 pound and a 2-ounce, pound and 1-ounce bucks to fill out my limit. Like this was my final one. It's nothing special. It's just a fluke. Just a soft deal. That's where my boat was sitting, and over here, this is the mat that I caught the 7.5 pounder on. If you see where I'm circling, just little guys.
Thank God. Isn't it amazing how thankful you can be for something like that?
Little 12-incher, so I filled out the limit of 12 inches, and that's it. That's how I ended up with 7.7. But I did have a very interesting thing happen with about an hour left, and I've heard about this. I've seen this happen before. So I've got 2 clips here, and I was punching. This was not the mat this was not the bank I wanted to get punched. Behind me that you can't see, the bank that I wanted to punch, there was a cow in it. And the cow was literally in the middle of the mat that I wanted to punch.
She's out there eating, huh?
Yes.
She's having hyacinth for lunch.
Hyacinth. So this was probably one of the scariest things that I've ever seen in a bass boat, because I took a 1.25 ounce tungsten.
Ooh, yeah.
Pretty hard to the head. And this is with about an hour left.
Dude, you can kill yourself with one of those. They are dangerous.
I've got a couple different angles of it here.
A couple different angles of it.
All right.
Worse than any hockey shot you ever took?
Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Yeah, dude.
You can see it there.
Does it look bad?
Listen.
Well, I mean, you know, it looks bad, but I don't think it's like. It looks like it's got a knot there.
This is the greatest. Listen how he answers this question.
I heard it.
Listen how he answers this question.
Does it look bad?
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, you know, it looks bad, but I don't think it's like. It looks like it's.
He sounds like somebody
got
on
knot
King of the
there.
Hill. Oh, yeah. It looks pretty bad.
Might want to ice that tonight.
I love that answer.
Yeah, ice it up.
Listen, this is great.
Might want to ice that tonight. Yeah, ice it up.
God.
Make sure you get it good cleaned out. I like it.
Looks like a cone coming out the side of your head. That's freaking great. How's it look today?
It's a lot better. It's really like kind of hiding. It's really tender, like really tender. So I slowed it down to 10% and then zoomed in 300% if you're interested in seeing that.
Ounce and a quarter. So when you told me the story, I thought you got frustrated and were hung up and you were like yanking and you were kind of, but that wasn't the case at all. You literally set the hook and did that, didn't you?
Yeah. See, here it is. Here it is at 10%.
10%. Dude. Yeah, those things are freaking dangerous, man. Guys don't think about that a lot. You know, like you're just out there fishing, but that thing can kill you. Oh. Jesus.
And then here it is even closer. I think I might even have one closer than this.
Really?
Yep. See, I was giving it the giving it the onions.
Man, that thing almost hit you right in the ear.
Yeah. No,
that might have been worse.
I think I have one more. Here it is. Boom. Now, right about here, this is the best game footage ever.
Best game footage ever.
Right about here is what I didn't realize. Let's see if I can pause it. Okay. Look at this angle. There's the 1.25 ounce tungsten. There's the BFE and hematoma available at boom. There it is. But between here and there, it glanced off my shoulder right here. And I didn't realize it. You can't see it when it hits. Watch. You can't see it. Boom. But it glanced off my shoulder.
So your shoulder slowed it down.
Well, I didn't realize that till I got done, and I was like an hour and a half, probably 2 hours after I had gotten home, and was like, why does my shoulder hurt so bad? And I've got a big welt and mark on my shoulder, so that's literally probably the only reason that it didn't shatter my cheekbone.
God, dude. That is unbelievable.
That is ironic. I just realized that. The BFE color was hematoma.
And it left a hematoma. Oh.
That's it for the clips. That's all we got. I figured we'd end with that one.
Yeah, that's you told me about it when we were driving home. I honestly thought you had kind of self-inflicted that on yourself, but not at all. I've dodged a bunch of those through the years, man, and I've hit myself in the body, but not ever in the head. Hit a coingler once in the glasses square and broke them. Scared me to death. I thought it killed him. Those things are dangerous, dude.
I think my coingler thought I was dead.
I wonder if anybody's ever actually lost their life to one of those. I bet it's happened.
I could see it happen because, I mean, here it is, volume full. And when I looked at it, I was kind of curious to see if it would look bad or if it didn't look as bad as it felt.
Oh, God.
Is that a result of just a horrible mat punching hook set?
No, I'm not. I'm done. No, that thing comes flying out of there, man. It's a lot of weight, and it's dangerous. I'm glad you're okay.
I am okay. Got out of there with the top 50. Like I said, you finished in 57th place. And, man, we're going on a 2-hour show here, Brad, so we need to wrap this thing up. You got a lot to do. I got a lot to do.
Yep.
After we get back. But the crazy thing is, if you look at the points in the Southerns, in all the divisions last year, you really only have between 50 and 60 points to play with.
Yeah.
Not really. You only have between 50 and 60 points to play with to finish in the top 3 or top 4 if there's an Elite Series guy ahead of you.
Yep.
So even though I finished 49th, to have a realistic shot, I've got a top 5 the next 2 Southerns, and you basically have to win the next 2 Southerns.
And still wouldn't make it, probably.
And we would be right on the edge.
Right.
If history is any indication.
Right.
Because it's been between 545 and 549 points to me.
You could finish the way that we've kind of done the math is you could finish 20th place, right? That's a check. That's a good finish. You could finish 20th place in all 3 tournaments in one division, and you would not qualify for the Elite Series. That's what it's taken. It's taken
correct
15th place. So you got to average 15th place if you want guaranteed in.
That's wild.
I know it, especially with that many boats.
What else you got coming up?
I have got YouTube coming up big time. I've got a lot of video on card. I'd kind of taken a month or so off over the holidays with family and stuff, and just like this morning, I jumped at 4:30, so I've hit the ground running since we started tournament fishing and back in it. So I've got quite a bit of material in the can that I'm about to blow out, and that's pretty much it. YouTube.
Awesome. I appreciate you coming in. We have an exciting week this week to return with live BTL shows for the second week of February. Brad, thanks for coming in.
Appreciate you having me.
Charlie Hartley tomorrow, going to tell some really good stories. Really excited for our guest on Wednesday.
Yeah, Charlie, I wasn't out there trolling you, I swear. I've told the story now how I ended up out there.
Charlie knows you wouldn't do that.
No. I told him on the water. I was like, hey, I finally found you.
Wednesday, long overdue appearance on BTL. Matt Stefan is coming on.
Awesome.
He's going to talk about a bunch of stuff. He got a really crazy, cool career.
He does.
Before he was a fisherman. Very analytical dude.
Great fisherman, too.
Going to talk about a lot of things both on and off the water. And then the return of day 4 with Uncle Frank on Thursday. That's it for BTL on a Monday. We'll see you tomorrow.